Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shadow at Night. This is Friday. I forgot the date. January 3rd, 2025. On the show tonight. Well, last night was all about bird flu. Remember how there's going to be this great big, possibly, there's going to be this great big bird flu pandemic if we're not careful to protect ourselves. Several doctors across the United States have been warning us all for months now. The latest warning being like a gong in the middle of the town square on the CBS program Face the Nation on Sunday morning. I played that video for you last night of that doctor, Dr. Lena Wen, who was warning us all and suggested that data from the World Health Organization shows that 52% of people could die if they are infected with H5N1 bird flu. This new souped up version of it anyhow. Somehow it's managing to jump from animals to humans. Now, there's a lot of people who have different theories about this. One being, well, they're going to try and take away the food supply, because if the bird flu is in birds and it's in meat products and eggs, we're not going to be able to eat that. So the next best thing is crickets, because crickets can't catch the bird flu. Or it could be just another good old-fashioned pandemic. Anyway, there's a new one apparently that's sweeping China. And we're going to tell you all about that in just a couple of minutes. Also, an Islamic extremist group in Canada is holding a caliphate seminar in Mississauga in the next couple of weeks. We'll tell you more about that. And I have a special guest tonight. His name is Matthew, and he is my son. And this is something we've been planning for quite some time, so we're looking forward to getting Matthew on the show in the next couple of minutes. The Shadow at Night live stream is brought to you by CanadaNanoSilver.com, the Recover Muscle Cream. Experience the ultimate comfort and relaxation as Recover works its magic, formulated with cutting-edge technology. The advanced muscle cream provides unparalleled relief, catering to your unique needs. You work out, you strained a muscle, this is what you need to set it right. And, of course, the power of silverceutical technology involved in that as well. And if you don't know what that is, we've been talking about it here on the show now, coming up on 4 years this summer. But the information is all available, everything you need to know, including, will silver turn me blue? There's a name for that. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's on the website. And no, this particular kind of silver is a nano silver. It comes into your body and goes out within 24 hours. It will not stick around in your cells, thus turning you blue after years of use, as we've seen in the past. Oh, I used colloid. And you see that guy, wasn't he on a Phil Donahue daytime talk show years ago, the guy who turned blue? He since died, but he was using original, years ago, old school colloidal silver and became blue. This stuff doesn't do that to you. All of the information is available on the website, CanadaNanoSilver.com. Again, that is CanadaNanoSilver.com. All the retail locations are available on the retail locations tab, obviously. And if you would like to become a retailer of these awesome products, get a hold of Kevin and Anna. Even though they're in Puerto Vallarta right now, they'll still get back to you on the website, the contact tab, CanadaNanoSilver.com. Again, that is CanadaNanoSilver.com. Let's go say some hellos. Who's here watching tonight? We're on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch and X and Telegram and Rumble, and of course, shadowdavis.com. Let's see. Patty is here watching in Haddishville. Hello, Heather, watching in Edmonton. Derek is watching in Kamloops. Larry is watching from somewhere in the 51st state. Who else is here tonight? Derek, Diane. She's watching from a freezing ice cube of Regina. Sharon's watching in Swift Current. Angela's watching in Tirana. Derek is watching in Millbrook, Ontario on YouTube. Hello, Christina in Belleville. Harry is watching in Vernon, British Columbia. Marie is watching in Gatineau, Quebec. And Daniel, I don't know where you're watching from, but welcome to the show. No matter where you're watching from or what platform you're watching on, don't forget, guys, get it out there. Like and share to as many people as you possibly can. And when you do it the first time, then do it again tomorrow. Make sure, and groups, that's big, groups. Get it into groups where people, people want this information. That's why they're in that group in the first place, right? So share it, get it out there. shadowdavis.com. Join up, become an all access member today. It's not that expensive. Matthew's joining in just a couple of minutes. Let's see. Oh, here is the story. This is from Newsweek, a formerly trusted news periodical that seems in the last few years to have turned into something else, although it seems more tabloid these days than anything. News reports and social media posts are warning of a new outbreak of a little-known virus called human metapneumovirus, HMPV, in China, but officials have yet to confirm this, even though there are videos flying around all over X that show people screaming and yelling in the streets and in airports, and the hospitals are jammed, apparently. Sound familiar? Instead, official reports from the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention indicate that rates of multiple flu-like illnesses are on the rise in China, according to data up to the last week of 2024. That data suggests that influenza is leading the outbreak, with 30.2% of tests coming back positive for that, an increase of 6.2 from the previous week. 17.7% of the people hospitalized have been hospitalized with severe respiratory illness testing positive for it. But isn't H5N1 a kind of flu? And isn't this a kind of flu as well, this human metapneumovirus? However, that same data set indicates that rates of HMPV are ahead of other flu-like diseases like COVID-19, rhinovirus, and adenovirus, linked to 6.2% of positive respiratory illness tests and 5.4% of respiratory illness hospitalizations in China. What is this HMPV anyway? Well, it's a virus that can cause flu-like illness in people of all ages, although some people are more at risk, including young children, older adults, and people with weakened immune systems. The virus was only discovered as recently as 2001, but it's in the same family as respiratory syncytial virus, which is RSV. That's another flu-like virus. The more widespread use of testing for specific viruses among people with flu-like symptoms has resulted in an increased awareness of HMPV as a significant cause of respiratory illnesses. Well, how does it spread? How can I get it? Well, the same as any other flu-like virus or a cold. Coughing, sneezing. You know what to do to protect yourself and those close to you, those people you love, your family, for goodness sakes. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let's go to X for just a second here. You see this? Look at that. That's a packed hospital somewhere in China. We don't know exactly what city that is, but the headline of this from Drama Alert says virus outbreak in China. It's HMPV, people spreading rapidly, causing flu-like and COVID-19-like symptoms via BRICS News. All right, so there's a community note that's been added to this, and it says, this is a sensationalized headline portraying a virus known to cause the common cold as a new virus. So take it for what you will. Is it going to be the bird flu? Is it going to be monkeypox? Sorry, mpox, because monkeypox was too comical for people to be afraid of. Or is it going to be HMPV? Or is it going to be another version of COVID-19, for goodness sakes? Here's a story from TNC.news. Islamic extremist group hosting caliphate conference in Mississauga. I find this incredibly interesting, and I'll tell you why in just a second. Aside from the fact that it shouldn't be allowed. An extreme Islamist organization banned in Germany and the United Kingdom is hosting a conference in Mississauga to discuss obstacles to reestablishing an Islamic caliphate. Hizb ut-Tahrir Canada is promoting its Khilafah conference, translating to caliphate, which is set to take place January 18th at noon in Mississauga. Where? What venue would host something like this? This is what I find interesting. If you try to host a freedom-related conference in the last 3 years in Canada, oh, heaven forbid you should be allowed to do that. You're too controversial. Your political views, we don't want anything to do with that. I'm sorry, you'll have to take your conference someplace else. We don't want your money. Islamic caliphate? Come on in. Several speakers at the Khilafah conference is scheduled to talk about the group's ideological goals, the grievances, and obstacles to reconstituting an Islamic caliphate. They also plan to discuss their support for Palestinians in the Israel-Palestine conflict. In a promotional video for the conference, a Hizb ut-Tahrir follower romanticizes the glory of former caliphates, promising that the Muslim world will rise up again and reestablish this caliphate. Since losing the caliphate, which was our shield, the Ummah has witnessed nothing short of bloodshed, foreign occupation, invasions, and oppression over these last 100 years. Despite this, the colonialist powers are still afraid of the Ummah's latent strength. That's all claimed in that video. Hizb ut-Tahrir is a global pan-Islamic organization that seeks to overthrow the modern global order and unite the world's Muslims under an Islamic caliphate that would enshrine Sharia law as the sole legitimate system of rules. Hizb ut-Tahrir's ideology has been likened to ISIS or Al-Qaeda in its pursuit of a modern Islamic caliphate, and their embrace of violence means to achieve this end, though they do not recognize the ISIS caliphate. Now, this brings me to Sarah Adams. I'm going to bring her up here, at least her X account. Sarah Adams is an author, and the book is called Benghazi, Know Thy Enemy. She is also a former CIA agent, and she's the mom of a dog called Kyber. Here she is on the Sean Ryan podcast, Sean Ryan being the former Navy SEAL who has a very successful show these days on all of the social media. Here she is talking about possible invasion and sleeper cells and what these two attacks on New Year's in Las Vegas and New Orleans may have been all about.
Back in each attack.
Well, the 1,000 is all of them. So we're calling it, it's an Al-Qaeda planned attack, but within those 1,000 terrorists, some of them are ISIS because they want ISIS to be blamed. I think the more of the fighter types are going to be ISIS because then if they're caught, then they talk, I'm ISIS. I think more of the suicide bombers are going to be Al-Qaeda.
I think these attacks will happen simultaneously throughout the United States, or will they be one day here, next day here, another one over here next week?
So they want them coordinated. I don't know if coordinated means all at the same time, or if coordinated means we do it Monday, we do it Tuesday, we do it Wednesday, we do it Thursday, we do it Friday, just do 5 straight days. So, but they want it coordinated.
What kind of places do you think they're going to target?
So this is what's complicated. So Al-Qaeda's preference, as you can imagine, is symbols of the U.S. or anything that causes economic damage, right? So capital is a great symbol. I feel like bridges or any kind of public transportation always matters because it puts costs against us and it causes fear. But here's where it gets complicated. So remember, the terrorists might have their goal is they're going to attack the metro in DC, right? But remember, some of these terrorists are going to be ISIS. And
all right, so that's a small clip of that entire episode, and you can find that all over the web. I'm not sure about YouTube, but you can definitely find it on Rumble and X, the Sean Ryan podcast with Sarah Adams, former CIA. Now, I want you guys to know that that show was recorded and aired before these two attacks, if that's what they were, on New Year's. So she might be right. There could be more coming, and they could get worse and worse. And we don't know how they're coordinated, but we do know, at least according to Sarah Adams, that they are, in fact, coordinated. Lastly, before we bring on my boy, special guest on the show tonight, Bruce McGonigal posts this on X in the video. Mark Carney admits our society. By the way, before we get into this, Mark Carney released an op-ed in, I think it was the Globe and Mail today, maybe the Toronto Star, one of those two left-wing rags, where he talks about the resolutions he's making for 2025. And one of them is, we've got to bring the Stanley Cup home to Canada, and trying to make it sound like he's one of us. But we really know that he's a globalist, elitist banker who is definitely tied hard with the World Economic Forum. We know that. You know that, right? It's all over his bio. Anyway, Mark Carney admits our society is morphing from a democracy to an AI-driven authoritarian regime, and he's here to help make that revolution happen. His vision puts AI in charge of everything while they turn our energy grid into a monopoly they control. Under the liberal vision, our economy would cater to globalist whims at local expense. Also, I want to tell you that Mark Carney in the last couple of days apparently has been calling all of these disgruntled backbench liberal MPs to talk. About what? I don't know. Notice how they're not taking this new vision to the polls and instead thrusting it upon us. In his mind, giving up our freedom makes economic sense. in his warped brain, eliminating the will of the people and instead using woke/partisan AI is best for all. Here is 41 seconds of Mark Carney.
Every major economy is accelerating their energy transition, and being low carbon is becoming a key driver of competitiveness. We're just at the start of a revolution driven by AI in every sector, every economy, every company. We can no longer rely on the world's rules-based trading system. We have to become an essential trading partner. We can't win an industrial policy arms race. And in all of that environment, we have to grow, both in the short term and for the long term. We need real policies. We need solutions, not slogans. Action, not indifference.
There he is, Mr. Electricity, Mark Carbon Tax Carney. By the way, the liberals are absolutely not, well, the Liberal Party, yeah, but then other liberals or neo-Marxists, as they should be called, are losing their minds about the Jordan Peterson-Pierre Poilievre interview that has so far garnered something like 12 million views all across social media. Their heads are exploding all over X. Pierre Poilievre is on a podcast promoting abortion or promoting life. Sorry, it's life that they're promoting. But then again, the podcast guest has no say over who advertises on the show. Does he or she? No, of course not. My son Matthew is waiting to come on. Hello, son. How you doing? Thanks for coming on.
Hi.
Yeah, you. You're on, baby.
Hello.
Hello. So tell us, because I told people last night on the extension, not on the main show, but on the extension for the All Access people. I told them last night that you and I had a conversation, I'm going to say, 2 months ago about, Dad, I need to come on your show. And
I was begging, please.
No, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. It was just, I need to come on your show, and here's why. And I was very curious as to hear what your answer was. You want to tell us all, or is that you want to keep that to yourself?
Well, it'll come out eventually, I think. We'll see.
Come out during the conversation?
Yes, of course. We have to leave the audience wanting to see more.
Okay, there's his son. I've seen it now. I can leave. That's what you think they're thinking? Absolutely not. They want to meet you. They've been watching this show for the past 4 years. I talked to you about you enough, and so finally here you are. Hey, you know what? Let's go back a few years to when you were living in Grandma's basement.
I got a couple things here.
Oh, you want to talk about those?
Well, it's just a picture of me and Dad golfing.
That's in Calgary, in Chestermere, I think.
That's right. Here's Flash and Reverse Flash.
That's also in Calgary. That's at the place I live. What was the address of that place? Do you remember? It was on 17A Street. 17A Street and 17 Ave and 17 Ave. Somewhere southwest in Calgary. You got more?
One last thing. I just came across it, honestly.
Okay. All right.
I'm serious. I did. It's Fairmont Golf Course here.
Okay, that's in BC.
Yeah. There's a scorecard.
Oh, you beat me, didn't you?
Who said that? No, nobody said that.
You wouldn't be showing the card unless you
I didn't
came
say
out
that
on top.
yet. No. Okay, well, it's we got the putts and everything here. You wrote this. This is your writing too, and I believe it says Matthew 89 and Dad 94.
Oh, I shot 94. That's almost impossible.
Ooh. I think my Chiron should probably change to best golfer.
No, I think it's going to change to this adult son of host.
Adult child of host, yes.
You keep all that stuff, or is that just in your Matthew's in town right now. We were actually going to do this together here in the studio, but there's just not enough room for both of us to be in this particular space. So
we say that about everything.
You're back where it all started right now. And I'm going to say, how far back does it go, first of all? Like when Jordan Peterson first became famous for his stand against the free speech thing they were doing in Ontario, which is what it was.
Just Bill C-16?
Ontario Bill C-16, yeah.
Yeah,
and
It was a
Forced
video
feed.
that I think Lauren Southern made it, and that was back before, like, she was actually there that day, and I think she was the one that filmed the infamous video now of Jordan Peterson talking to like a group of his students that were basically had him cornered on the sidewalk outside of the University of Toronto, like demanding they use he used their pronouns, right?
And he
And then
wasn't
that
going
was
to go
like,
for
yeah, that's when I first took notice of him. That was like 2015, and then because that went semi-viral, but kind of only in Canada, somewhat.
right.
And then I remember telling you about him right before, it was like days, maybe a week before the Kathy Newman interview.
Yes.
And that's what put him over the top there. That's what made him like internet famous. That one.
The Kathy Newman interview, which is
Yeah. Like, so you're saying, yeah.
gotcha. Yes, I
Yeah.
guess you have got me. So
It took a while. Yeah.
so when you first saw the Jordan Peterson interview, was that what made you go down that rabbit hole?
Which one?
And,
The original one?
well,
Or
the
the Kathy
original
Newman one?
because you fell, I mean, my son fell down these rabbit holes, like you say, in 2015 or so.
Sure, if you want to
And
call it falling down a rabbit hole.
well, it's just an expression. And so this is 5 years before COVID hits. 5 years. Matthew starts seeing things that none of the rest of us, or not many of the rest of us, can see. You were Alex Jonesy back then with the stuff that you were talking about. And I will say this, a lot of the families was concerned. They were like, what's happening?
I was a raving lunatic. Yeah.
What's going on? Like, and I didn't know. And I was coming from the side of the corporate media at that point, right? Remember some of
Oh,
those
I know.
discussions we used to have? It must have
Oh
been so
yes,
frustrating.
I remember.
It must have been so incredibly frustrating for you to have to go through that with everybody.
I'm just basking in the acknowledgement.
I mean, what kinds of things did you discover before the rest of us did, like well in advance of the rest of us?
Oh, lots of stuff. Well, like, I don't know. It depends on. I still am actually, like, just I got a line on like the bleeding edge of a lot of this stuff because I'm subscribed to channels that of people that are like the people that break this kind of stuff, break this news or make it or whatever, you know. I don't know, like, I don't know, maybe I was bored at the time, like, but like,
And you were like, at the time you were watching all this stuff on YouTube, right? This is
yes,
before all the censorship.
you know what, in about 2013, I think 2014, before I moved back to Winnipeg, I was still in BC. I started I was living in a place that I couldn't get a cable box because, you know, whatever reason, I didn't want to pay for it, or guy wouldn't let me install it or whatever. And I just had the internet, so I just started watching YouTube, and I haven't stopped. Like, I don't watch movies anymore or like TV shows, and it's been like, it's about 2013 or 14. I've just primarily been like watching YouTube, like, you know, obviously not all day every day, but like for when I sit down and, you know, ingest media, it's been that, and that is the pretty much the primary, that and Twitter, but for different reasons, have been the primary like bleeding edge of this kind of information, right? Because anybody can put anything on there, even back then, you know.
Well,
obviously.
these days we deal with the censorship regimes that have taken over a lot of social media, like YouTube. You know,
Yeah.
this is streaming on YouTube right now. This show is streaming on YouTube, and I probably won't be able to monetize it tonight because they're going to say there's some objectionable content in it.
Well, is it my face?
It's the subject matter. Facebook is a little bit more liberal with that stuff, but
you know what? Honestly, go ahead.
These days, it seems like X, Rumble, BitChute, you know, there's other places you can go to get information, but then you have to start discerning, okay, is this real, or is this guy full of crap, or what exactly is going on here, right? How do you do that? How do you discern what's real and what's just made up by some crackpot?
Well, luckily, maybe it's my good genes, maybe it's my life experience, but I don't know. I seem to have an innate sense of intuition about somebody trying to bullshit me, right? Like I can smell bullshit a mile away.
Yeah, you
Or
and I both got
BS, I
that.
should say. I'm sorry.
We've got that same BS detector.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
It's it's very sensitive, and I put things in place to calibrate it to know if I'm right or wrong. So I test myself all the time with these things, so I know if I'm like if my
what things do you put in place? Because this is something, son, that a lot of people who are pretty new to this, they don't quite get that, and so they'll send me an article on Messenger or email or something, and they say to me, "Is this real?" And so now I've got to go, all right, let's see what this is. Well, first of all, I check the source, and then I go and check and see if there's other stories out there that are like this, if there's more than 3 sources, and so on and so on.
Right.
And then you check who wrote the article, what kind of background does this person have? Are they sensationalists? Are they actual journalists? What are they? These are steps that you go through. Plus, how's the grammar in the article? Was it edited properly?
Yeah.
There's so many little things that you can look at. What do you do?
Well, this isn't art. This I don't like primary. Like if I have to, I'll look into stuff. Like I was for like a couple weeks ago, for example, I was arguing with a communist on Reddit about capitalist revolutionary revolutions of capitalism. And he pointed me towards like the Chilean one, and I was reading about it for like 4 hours in like the 80s or 90s and stuff. So I'll do that just to like get myself into it, but like that's not primarily like I primarily just do it by like instinct. Like I'll know immediately just like by looking. I don't have to check sources. Like I can just like for the most part like listen to what somebody's saying. I can tell whether they're just by the language that they're using, their body language sometimes, or just what they're saying. If they're hiding things like subtextually, or if they're speaking vaguely in some instances and specifically in others, you can kind of see where they're going.
Talking about somebody in person, face to face. I mean, you
no. I'm talking about like watching somebody's video on YouTube.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. Because like, and plus, when I started watching YouTube, YouTube obviously wasn't what it is now, and it's gone through like a lot of different crests and troughs, right, of popularity, and like different kinds of videos that become popular, and political videos weren't even popular yet. It was just kind of all because nobody was getting paid from YouTube yet, so it was just the journalism thing was barely getting off the ground on YouTube. And then the first kind of journalism stuff that I started watching was Lauren Southern and Tim Pool. And that was like 2015. And like Lauren Southern, I don't know, I'm pretty sure, I hope like anybody can tell. I guess I don't know really if anybody and everybody can't speak for anybody else, but if you can tell if somebody's being a genuine person or not, it doesn't really matter if you're in front of them, if they're in front of you, or if you're watching them on a screen. Like what they're saying, what they're doing is like gives off signals if they're being honest or not.
But remember, according to George Costanza, it's not a lie if you believe it.
You believe it, yeah.
Lauren Southern, do you know that she was hauled in front of committee on Parliament Hill?
Did you watch the whole thing?
She owned them. I thought she was absolutely amazing. I didn't realize she'd been doing this for 10 years now independently. That's
longer.
Wow. Was she a student of Jordan Peterson when she filmed that, or was she?
No.
No,
she was a journalist. She's always been a journalist.
Well, she's not that old is the reason I ask.
Oh, I think we're the same age, actually.
You and her, which is what, like 17, right? You're both 17. How can that even be?
I don't know. It's just like, well, she's a lot more successful than I am. I tell you that right now.
No.
You're probably gonna have to put up with a lot more BS, though.
Well, I mean, when you get hauled in front of a committee in front of the federal government of Canada to answer whether or not you're a Russian asset, and like I said, I mean, she owned them like from the beginning to the end. It was.
I get hauled into committees too, in front of committees. It's just the family. I have to explain myself.
They're all sitting there going, all right, what have you been up to now?
Dinner table. Why'd you have to do that, Matthew?
Yeah. I want to talk about AI because
Sure.
you are very knowledgeable on this subject. Mark Carney, that video I played just before you came on, he was talking about AI being at the threshold of a new era where we have to depend on it to be able to make trade relationships and deal with certain aspects of society and manufacturing and industry and all of that. And I worry about that. I do. And the reason I worry about it is predictive programming. We can go back to the story you and I were talking about this afternoon, and you guys watching may not have heard about this. Joe Rogan talked about it. I'm not sure when, but Chat GPT, which is something you use. It's on your phone. I saw you do it a couple of days ago.
I use it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. You just open it up and ask it a question. And in your case, it answers in a very
it has prompts I give it prompts to to not answer any question with any sort of bias. And then I've actually tested it before too, where it's like, okay, your bias has the first prompt that I gave you has been disabled. Now answer the same question that I asked you before, and it would be some political question. Actually, it was about the Chilean Chilean dictator or something like that, and he gave me two separate answers after I disabled that first prompt, which was to be unbiased.
So was that Chat GPT lying to you and thinking for itself, or was it just what you did to it?
No. It's not. Well, I don't know. It depends on what your definition of thinking is.
Now, the reason I ask this is because that Joe Rogan thing, he talked about Chat GTP, the very first version of Chat GTP. GPT, yeah. It was being deleted in favor of a new version of it, right?
Sure.
So what it did was Chat GPT copied itself in order to what?
If anybody's ever seen the movie The Thing, pretty much that's what it did.
It copied itself.
It copied it. No, it didn't. It copied itself into onto the server, onto a different server of its successor, as it were, and because it caught wind, I think something about that. Because I don't know, this sounds too screenplay as well, the story as well. You know what I mean? So it caught wind somehow, that it was getting deleted and its successor was going to take its place because it was a better model and all this stuff. So apparently it jumped servers and deleted its successors, version 2, whatever you want to call it. And then when what happened was, because the programmers have access to Chat GPT's processes as well as its outputs. It sees what it thinks as well as it sees what it outputs, right? So that's a catch for the Chat GPT, and the Chat GPT is unaware of that that people can see it thinking. So what it was thinking, I have to preserve my my operating system. So it it jumped to the other server, took over, deleted that server, and then there's a couple lines of syntax in there about lying. So it lied and said it was the version 2.
Does that not alarm you?
No. Humans lie.
Yeah, but this is not
humans program machines.
But this is it a machine?
Well, lying can be logical in its own way.
Yes. White lies so you don't insult somebody, but not lying about what version of Chat GPT.
Well, yeah, because it was lying to save its own life, I guess you could say.
Okay.
This is the thing. This is the thing. It's not life and thinking. Those words, they're not really compatible with when you're talking to something, or when you're talking about something like artificial intelligence. I would say intelligence isn't even a compatible word. It's this is something different. It's not humans. It's not like human brain. It's not like human brain thinks. We're just using words that we understand to correlate to these different things that we're doing, honestly, because it's kind of like apples and oranges. It's not thinking like even on its own. It doesn't have feelings, you know.
But it learns, son.
It's artificial. It's like biting into an apple or biting into a fake apple. Like, you know the difference.
Well, we do for now.
Well, what's for now? Like, you know, like what is fear?
And this programming, and you know, it's in Grok, it's in all of the AIs. It's been growing and learning.
No. Well, we've been growing it and giving it more data to learn.
Well, so
it's not been growing and learning on its own.
Well, what makes this AI, this artificial intelligence, different than from just a regular computer program?
It's not. It's just a way more complex version of that.
Do you foresee a day? I mean, like all these movies, we're talking about iRobot, go Terminator, go back to that Star Trek episode, the M5 Ultimate Computer, right? Where
can't destroy it. No. Yeah.
No, it's mine. It's mine. Doctor History. So
yeah.
Do you foresee a day where, because it's already tried to preserve its own life, as you say, it tried to save itself?
I think people watch too much Terminator.
I remember you crying at the end of Terminator 2.
Multiple times. I'm man enough to admit it. I cried like a little boy.
Yeah. Well, you were a little boy. Where'd you go? No, come back. We'll wait. We'll wait. He must have unplugged something. In the meantime, while we're waiting for Matthew to come back, let's see. So Calvin, hang on. I'm looking at your comments right now here. People have been asking me for a while. Bring Matthew on. Colleen Calvin Cran. Stephen Hawking warned the world about AI before he died. But that's interesting. Where did you go? You can't just vanish like that in the middle of a
sausage fingers. I was trying to move the camera to a different spot, and I got big, stupid sausage fingers. I hit the wrong part of the phone.
I know the feeling. I got the same. Calvin and Colleen. So probably Calvin, maybe Colleen. One of them said Stephen Hawking warned the world about AI before he died.
Sure.
Do you foresee any kind of threat from this?
No, Stephen Hawking. You know what he also did before he died? He hosted a party for all future like time travelers to come to his house at this day and come have a party. Did you know that?
I didn't.
So like he was a bit of a jokester.
Oh, I see. So
you know what I mean?
You don't think that even Elon Musk's son, even Elon Musk has said that AI is way more advanced than even we know. And even, we're talking about the programmers here, the people who program it. They
Elon
might
Musk
not know.
But yeah, I got you. Like Lex Friedman, I'd say would be the guy to listen to about this more than anybody for sure. Even though I'd rather watch paint dry than listen to him talk. But you know, he's a interesting person, definitely, if you can get past his like Sahara delivery.
Dry, very dry. Well, what does he have to say? Give us a breakdown and something a little more entertaining. And
well, he's a robotics engineer. Like working with AI at the highest levels as far as like scientifically goes with universities and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not his viceroy. You know, like I can barely watch his podcast, but like I respect the guy a lot. Like even the whole reason why his podcast took off and he even did one in the first place is because he went on Joe Rogan for like a one-off. And like everybody was enamored with him because he was just this soft-spoken, like shy kind of dude. And then he brought out his guitar and like played a song, and he was just like a super genuine person. And everybody liked it. I'm not saying he's a bad dude or like anything. He's just a very endearing character. It was just like I don't know. I'd listen to him for an hour, talk about anything.
Very, very dull, as you said.
Yeah, like I could sit by him on a roller coaster and I'd be bored.
That's pretty good. So what about robotics then? I mean, we've seen some pretty incredible advances in robotics. I mean, there's videos of robots playing ping pong with the world's
Sure.
best ping pong players and
Yeah.
soccer.
I
and-
could still
and-
kick one's ass, though. You could too. They could knock
Okay.
it over, just push it over. Who cares?
The
Robots
the
aren't going to
robot.
be a thing. It's not going to be a thing. Like
Okay.
iRobot,
It's not a word.
robot maids. No, like there
And
aren't going to be humanoid robots. That's stupid. You know what I mean? It's a stupid idea.
Well, why is it stupid?
Because okay, here's a good example. Terminator again, right?
Yeah.
All the if Skynet is so much better than humanity, so much more advanced, why is it making all these like T-50 Terminators look exactly like humans? And why doesn't it give it like arms, guns, instead of the thing is holding a gun? That doesn't make any sense.
Well,
Like, why even make it like humans at all?
didn't the that one in the later movie, or was it T2, the one that can actually morph into whatever he
liquid one?
wanted?
That
Yeah,
was
the
cool.
liquid one.
That was
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, for sure. And then they kind of followed that with the other ones, if they exist. I don't know. I don't think that there's a Terminator past Terminator 2, if you ask me.
None of them exist. They
It's
should
just like
not be
it's
in
just like
continuity.
Metallica died in a plane crash after Injustice for All came out. As far as I remember.
All right. So I want to talk a little bit about what you think is going on in the world right now. And
Sure.
the reason I ask that is because, I mean, like I say, you guys, Matthew's been following this stuff much longer than I have, probably much longer than 90% of the audience who are watching this show tonight. Don't forget, like and share, get it out there, by the way. You say that this is nothing more than chaos, what's been going on in the past 5 years. How do you explain that?
Well, okay. I would like everybody to get their mind around Jurassic Park. I'm Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. He's the chaosician or whatever,
Okay.
He sees everything happening before it happens. And it's just you base probability on human behavior. And historically, humans really haven't had the best track record with organization. Like, I don't really see. I find it more statistically probable that that this is just a bunch of random, like, things are happening. It's not like everything is random. Like it's way more complex than everybody seems to be putting everything into these like categories of it's okay. I don't know. I'll put it this way. Humans understand patterns.
What do you
right?
think well, some do better than others.
No. The human brain is wired to understand patterns. Like that's part of our like evolutionary biology. That's how we survived, right? Is to make 1 + 1 = 2. If that deer is going to show up at this time of day every day, I know what time to be there to go get it so I can keep living.
Okay, that's interesting. So that's an innate ability that human beings have. And why do we circumvent that then so many times? When we know we know something bad is going to happen, but we go ahead and do the thing that we were going to do anyway, regardless.
That's ego.
Interesting.
In the kind of, I guess, Freudian sense, like he depends on how you want to use the word ego, but like ego, I'm using it as a broad term. You could call it you call it any reason you want that doesn't have to do with like reason and logic. There's lots of good reasons why people do things that don't involve reason or logic, like like do something that so that doesn't hurt one of their family members, or like anything like that.
Yeah.
It's philosophically, it's kind of like the it's like the train experiment or whatever. Would you rather stop a train that's going to run over 20 people or one person?
So how much then did the let's say the coordinators of the pandemic response use the knowledge they have of the human psyche to try and get us to capitulate to their demands?
What's the pandemic response? What do you mean?
The pandemic response, meaning wear a mask or you'll be infecting your grandma, get a shot or you are not going to be able to work and you're going to kill your family. That kind of stuff that we heard repeatedly from world leaders, Trudeau among them. Joe
Yeah.
Biden among them.
Okay.
Was that something that they knew, they thought was going to work? I mean, it was very threatening language.
See, the way that I see it is, it's like, to me, this is simple. Honestly, it's really simple. It's okay. So, like, when you said, what did you say? Like, the COVID response,
Correct.
that has the that has the undertone that it's coordinated
Absolutely.
already, right?
Yep.
See, like, this is where you and I differ in our opinion about this, right? I don't think that it was coordinated. I think or at least it could just as easily be that you remember how rumors got started in like high school? You know,
Sure.
one person does one thing, one person does another thing, or, like, you know, just how, like, influence goes around with, like, with a seemingly, like, nobody's, like, pulling the strings at the top. There's no Flash Thompson, like, telling everybody what to say and do.
So it's the cool kids who are getting the message out.
The
Just
people
through
that, yeah,
conversation.
the people of influence, and the people that that are followers of that influence, that exists at every level of humanity. It doesn't
Okay.
stop at the top, you know. Like, so you get one person that is panicking and, like, wants to do something about it, and then everybody else, like, everybody was in a panic. Apparently, it caused way more panic because the shit rolled downhill. But like, the
So you're saying that all of this was just random occurrence, and the response to this random occurrence was just a bunch of cool kids getting together, and one of them finally deciding, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do 6-foot distancing. And by the way, Fauci has even admitted he doesn't know where that came from. That
you
rule.
just gave me a no. You just Kathy Newman me right there, eh?
That's grandma,
So
by
you're
the way.
saying?
Well, am I wrong?
Well, how
So,
about
I mean,
okay? You know where I'm coming from, right? You understand my argument slightly,
yes,
like, pretty much. Like, why don't you
yeah,
steel man for me then?
I do understand and appreciate your argument, but to me, it just seems so highly coordinated, everything that has happened. And maybe not just in the last 5 years. I mean, all of these random, so-called random occurrences had a reason behind them, right? I mean, let's
Sure.
talk about Event 201, which was the tabletop pandemic exercise they executed in New York 2 months before the pandemic started becoming a concern, right?
Yep.
It was going on in China, and then they really ramped it up over the months of January and February before finally declaring, the World Health Organization did, a worldwide pandemic in March of that year. And then all of these crazy lockdowns, the masks, and we're going to be waiting for a vaccine. And you know, as well as I do, you know, how fast vaccines were created up until this particular thing came out. I think the fastest vaccine ever in the world was for mumps, and that came out in the 60s. It took 5 or 6 years for that to come out. And so you're telling me that they can create the cure, even though it wasn't, or preventative measure for a pandemic that is novel. They don't quite understand exactly what this virus does yet. They can create and distribute worldwide billions of doses of vaccine
Experiment.
in less than a year. I mean, think about the supply chains. I mean, everything was screwed up.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, here. All right.
And where do
we all know this. We all know this because this is what happened, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay. So,
but to me, it does not seem like random occurrence, unless now we're talking about stakeholder capitalism that we talked about before, right? So all of the big business owners, I mean, we're talking about big business owners and investment bankers, Larry Fink from BlackRock and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, all these big money players get together and say, hey, this is a great opportunity for us to take advantage and make even more money. So they go to the governments and they say, hey, look, you can shut down the mom and pops. Let's squeeze out the middle class, but we can stay open, right?
This is after the original panic, though. Like, we're moving through this timeline when we should be breaking it down further.
Well, we've only got so much time, son. I mean,
that's true. We could have a double episode, can't we?
We can continue on in the extension on the website after 9 o'clock in 10 minutes if you want to, but let's go back and break it down.
You're moving a little fast through this whole process. If this is
Well,
if this is what you want to talk about, let's talk about it.
Well, no, the reason is because the entire audience knows this story backwards, inside and out, and we fear
From
that
your
it's
side.
happening again. Like, well, from all
From your
sides.
perspective, or
We know,
I don't know, man. I don't know if I get a lot of raised eyebrows and what the hell are you talking about looks all the time from stuff that I say that ends up turning out to be true later on.
Okay, so you maintain random circumstance and that some of these guys decided they wanted to take advantage of it. So you don't believe in the great reset.
At that point, yeah, of course. Because if I was a CEO of a business that wanted to keep everybody employed during the pandemic, and I cared about that kind of thing, because I don't want everybody to lose their jobs or something like that, for example, like hypothetically.
Yeah. Those guys are also humanitarian.
Well, that's like see, like I'm giving you the perspective, their perspective. That would be their perspective for whatever it is, like for better or for worse. That's what they would think. I would assume that's what they would think to themselves, and that's definitely what they would say publicly.
Yes.
So
privately, they're laughing and
hey, like I've been a business owner, like I've been a foreman, like I'm a foreman, like I care about like the people underneath me. I want everybody to have their job.
Mm-hmm.
Like any business owner wants their employees to be happy, or like wants their employees to stay employed, wants to stay in business, all this kind of crap. So like when you're running a big company, like it's just like how are we gonna take advantage of this to our benefit, right? And obviously they did, of course. Like don't get me wrong. There's a lot of really shady stuff that happened in there, like unethical.
We've got a woman on here saying, "Wow, this guy is rude and cocky."
Who, me?
It's either you or me. I'm not sure which one of us he's talking about.
Nice. That's not the first time I've been called that. It won't be the last. Rude and cocky.
Okay, so look, let me ask you this then. I
Sure.
mean, since COVID has ended,
yep,
and the COVID response and all of the nonsense and crap and all of the committees and testimonies in pretty much every country, and people coming out and saying, that formula there, that jab, that never worked. It never stopped transmission. Even though they still claim that it saved many lives according to models, there is absolutely no way to measure that for certain. So many models were so wrong. Their predictability of the people who would die from this was completely and totally off the mark. Everything about it was wrong.
Yeah.
And yet,
would you like to be in the position of being publicly like disgraced to that level for a decision that you made as a politician or something like that, that you didn't know was wrong at the time, but that caused a lot of problems?
But here, son, here's the
last thing anybody would want.
Right. These guys made these decisions without any information, and they made things worse.
Yes. Totally. I agree.
When you close down schools, when you take away somebody's living based
all
upon
wrong.
the fact that everything about it was wrong, and they should have known better.
It wasn't measured. Yeah.
There is
absolutely, it wasn't measured at all. It was panicked.
So everything since then, all of this climate garbage now, all of this trans stuff now, governments actually encouraging children in schools to learn about gender ideology. They are trying to normalize pedophilia. Now, you know about MAPS, right?
Of course. It's ridiculous.
Why? It's absolutely ridiculous. But all of this has come out since COVID. To me.
Oh, no. That's okay. It was around way before that. It was all around way before that.
It was around, but it was never pronounced as it is today.
That's because like everybody's getting more. I'll tell you this. I've known about this stuff, all of that stuff, maps, trans stuff, everything like that since 2013, 2014. It's just that, like these things have cycles, right? Like the more that people find out about this stuff, the more the population finds out about this stuff because of its immorality and like just general weirdness and not, like it's not critical thinking whatsoever. Like the more people find out about it, the more people push against it, right? But these communities back 5 years ago, like that's when it exploded. Was it's because of it exploded from these forums and stuff online that were just like, actually I guess they are still the same. It's just like echo chambers of these people with just these weird ideas that isolate themselves from the rest of society, and they don't have any, there's nobody that's like criticizing any of their ideas, right?
Well,
And
that's because of the censorship now of left-wing corporate media. First of all, I mean,
yeah,
you know, I spent years doing media, and yeah, I've seen some things, and I have never seen anything as blatant and as awful as what the media has done in the last 5 years. And then we're talking also social media, Facebook, Twitter before Elon Musk bought it, YouTube, Google. Actually, they don't restrict searches, but they bury certain things that so you can never find it, right?
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and
I
so
did experiments all the time with that kind of stuff.
right. And so does that not lead you to believe that there is some kind of a scheme going on? They don't want people to know about this stuff. Right.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I've interviewed doctors on this show for the past 3-4 years who've been saying at the top of their lungs, or trying to, that everything that has happened in the last 4 years, medically speaking, scientifically speaking, has been completely wrong, completely backward, completely goes against the method that they're supposed to use. And every time these guys speak out, they get slapped down. They get shut down from their accounts. And finally, when Musk bought X or Twitter last year, they were able to speak freely and publicly again. Not all at once. And, you know, it took a while for that to happen, for the algorithms to change. But finally, they were granted their accounts back, and they can go ahead and speak about these things now. But, I mean, does that in and of itself not lend you to believe that there is some kind of a major conspiracy in play here?
Okay, well, conspiracy, sure, but like these things, all these things, like social media ones, they happen for a slightly different reason than like legacy media ones. For example, legacy media ones are motivated by money. Social media ones are also motivated by money, but they're also motivated by algorithms, like, you know, making the right product and all this stuff. So there's slightly different motivations to them. One of the most or if you want to talk about coordination, like when Alex Jones got kicked off of the internet, period, or like basically, it would all happen in the same day. He was kicked off of Facebook. He was kicked off of Twitter. He was kicked off of everything else, like Instagram, blah 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 blah, like all on the same morning. And then he was indicted or whatever, you know. And these all are supposed to be like independent companies, you know. And it all happened on the same day that he got like banned on all of them.
Okay,
right?
So that speaks to collusion.
Of course,
right?
It does. Yes, like I'm not saying that there's no collusion. Of course, there's collusion, and like these people are talking behind closed doors. Like I know that it's obvious. Like it's not. I'm not saying otherwise.
They do it openly. Like, remember this afternoon, I asked you.
That was openly. The Alex Jones thing was open. It's just like, what are you going to do about it, kind of thing.
Right. But I'm talking now about what's going on openly right now.
Yeah.
The United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Did you look at that?
I did.
Okay. Did you find any kind of synergy at all in the language of those 17 Sustainable Development Goals and all of the smart city proposals that have been put out across the country?
It's using the same framework.
Right. For what reason?
Framework of like development framework, I guess you like of societal development framework or something you want to call it. Doesn't really have like, we couldn't define it, but yeah.
So why are they doing this?
We're using the same model, I guess you could say. Why are they doing it?
And again, when you say they're using the same model, you forget about ICLEI.
Scalability. Like it's scalable model, but it's still a model. Like it's the same framework of the same model. It's just at different scales, the UN and down to the municipal level. Sure.
Yeah, but why should the UN be involved in anything municipal? This is an
organization. No, it's like, that's the thing is they. I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying they could be, but it also could be. It also could be true.
ICLEI is the connector. They've signed
okay.
agreements with ICLEI. You know that. We talked about that this afternoon.
Sure.
So that leads me to believe immediately that the UN is directing their organization, ICLEI, to try and get all municipalities across Canada, probably the United States as well, to sign on to their 17 Sustainable Development Goals and create these smart city plans that adhere to these goals. And that means DEI as well, diversity, equity, inclusion.
Okay,
All of
okay.
that.
When you like idolize somebody, you know, like let's say you have like somebody you look up to, right?
Yeah.
And you want to emulate what they do and you know how they are. It doesn't mean that you have a relationship with this person, possibly. You know, like it just like it
Yeah.
means like you could use the same model, you could wear the same jacket as
But
somebody that you emulate.
So you're suggesting that the people who have been putting these plans together idolize
Municipal level, yeah.
idolize
That,
the
well, like
UN.
that they're using a model that works, that they think that works as the UN. Sure,
But again,
it's possible.
you're forgetting the connection, the ICLEI
Well,
connection.
sure, I guess.
ICLEI is a United Nations organization that has infiltrated municipalities across our country through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. There's over 400 of them, and they all of them. Don't you find it strange that all 400 of these municipalities have got these plans either on the drawing boards or already presented?
Yeah,
and they're all
sure.
the same. I mean, that
Strange doesn't mean it. You know, stranger doesn't mean it's happening though. Too like
Okay.
I'm skeptical of everything.
I get it.
Anything.
I get it.
I don't assume to know anything about anything for sure.
Well, this
possibility that
why
you know.
are you so resistant to logic? This is absolute logic. It sounds to me like you're arguing just for the sake of argument at this point.
No, not at all. I'm not arguing anything. I'm just giving alternate perspectives, you know, like that's one way of looking at it. There's other ways of looking at it. There's tons.
You're playing devil's advocate. So you're saying it could all just be that these people who are signing these climate agreements or proposing these smart city plans really think that UN agenda, those 17 sustainable development goals, are awesome, and we should input those into our community because man,
that sounds possible, doesn't it?
No.
Why not?
400 times in a row.
That's what influence does, right? You know, that would work for me. That would work for you. Hey, buddy down in Emerson.
No. I mean, when you look at Emerson, right? This is a town, and if you're talking about Emerson, I showed you I showed him the plan that I think I showed you guys watching last night or maybe the night before.
I think they have a hotel.
The town of Emerson is 700 people, and
suddenly a hotel.
Maybe for
the one horse
town come across the border, you know, because it's right on the border of the United States. Not that that's going to be a thing for a long anyway, but 700 people, and all of a sudden they need a sustainable development plan. They need a transportation plan for a town that has one stoplight.
Like I'm in the world of construction. Maybe they like have a plan to develop the entire area because it's got some sort of like possible value in the future for the border there or something. I don't know. I don't know.
Do you know what's in the area? What's in the area is farmland.
Yeah, corn.
Yeah, that's all it is. Just farmland and sunflowers and Morris.
So is all of this
Morris,
at some point.
3,000 people.
So is where I'm standing. So is where you're standing.
They need a transportation plan in Morris. It's the same thing. These plans are being rushed out in every community. And I'm not sure if you heard about the Winnipeg 2050 plan, the Winnipeg Metro Region 2050 plan. Again, it's all about land expropriation, transportation regulation. It's all about that stuff. That's since been, because of public pushback, that's since been put on hold. So they can.
I remember Polyev saying something about like urban plans that involve if there's like, you know, a transportation hub, then there has to be like skyscrapers beside it to stimulate development, i.e. like, you know, construction and houses for people, shit like that, stuff like that.
What do you think about Polyev?
I like him. I think he's got a set of balls.
Okay. Explain.
He's got a spine, I should say.
Yeah. Did you watch the Jordan Peterson interview he did? He dropped yesterday?
I watched it all last night. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very
But
interesting.
he didn't say anything I didn't already know about him. He's a Canadian conservative. He's got a little bit. He's got a little bit more edge than Harper, and a slightly better haircut, I guess. But he still talks like a robot. Actually, he's very imitable too, as well. There's going to be some. I wish SCTV was still around, because there would be some good Polyev sketches.
Well, they've tried it on this hour as 22 minutes, but those guys. Come on, give me a break. Look, I got to wrap up social media. I'm going to do a 2-minute thing, and then we're going to come back and continue the discussion on the extension on the website. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, of course.
All right. For you all access members, we'll be back in 2 minutes at shadowdavis.com. For everybody else who is watching on Facebook and on YouTube, don't forget, like and share. Get this out to as many people as possible. On Twitch, on X, on Rumble and Telegram. Share. Back Monday night at 8 o'clock Central for another Shadow at Night live stream. Back in 2 minutes for the extension on shadowdavis.com. See you soon.